Guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So this is going to be a fun one. I'm actually going to teach you how to launch your STI. While the STI transmission is fairly strong, it can take a beating. I don't recommend doing this often just because of your clutch, you know, the premature wear and everything. It is fun to do, and I promise you, want to do it way more. I've only launched this car a couple times. And my previous WRX I've only done a couple times as well, so it can definitely withstand the abuse, but you know, you just got to do it carefully and you got to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now the STI from factory does not have launch control, so it's not like a newer car where you can just press a button or hold down a brake or something like that and it just revs up to a certain RPM. It doesn't have that. So if you don't have an Accessport, you can do it manually. Now it's a little bit tougher. It's going to take a little bit more trial and error to get this done properly. Basically what you want to do is put the clutch in, put it in first, and you're going to rev up to a certain RPM and then drop the clutch. It's not the best way to do it, but it can be done, and if you get enough practice on it, you can definitely do it somewhat safely. Now doing it through the Accessport is what most people are familiar with. What the Accessport actually does, it actually lets you set the launch control, so it lets you set the RPM that you want it to sit at. If you're doing it manually, you have to hold your foot in a certain position at the certain RPM to launch it. With the launch control on the Accessport, it allows you just to basically smash down the gas pedal and then you just let go of the clutch and you go. It's a little bit safer, a little bit more controlled, as opposed to just feathering the gas and trying to find that right RPM. Now I'm going to show you exactly where you need to go and what you need to set on the Accessport, but kind of a quick briefing here of how you actually do it. For me personally, I like to launch it at 5,200 RPMs. I feel like that's where the car is happiest and where it launches, mainly because the car is in boost. If you do it any lower, the car is gonna kind of boggle a little bit and it won't launch as well, mainly because the car is just not in boost levels. With this car, you don't see much spooling until around 4,500 RPMs or so. That's kind of when it comes alive. So setting it a little bit higher where the turbo is actually spooling, it allows for a good launch. A quick cliff note of how you actually launch an STI with an Accessport. The first thing you want to do is take off traction control completely. The next thing you want to do is go on the Accessport and set it at the RPM that you would like to launch at. The next thing you want to do is find an open road where there's no cars, there's no pedestrians, there's nobody in the way, nobody that's going to bother you. You want to make sure you're doing this safely. It can get out of hand pretty quickly if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're doing it in a residential area or someplace that you shouldn't, it can get hairy. So you want to make sure you're in a place where there's no obstructions or no cars or anything like that. You just want to have a nice wide open road. The next thing you want to do is get prepared for the actual launch. So you're going to set up, you want to be on a straightaway. You're going to hold the clutch in, put it in first gear, and what that is going to do is actually going to engage the launch control. It's going to be ready, so all you got to do is mash your foot on the gas pedal. You'll see that the RPM range will kick up to the 5,200 that we set it at, and it's going to bounce off that 5,200 RPM limit that you set on the Accessport. And once you're ready to go, you basically just drop the clutch and hold on. Now I know this is something that's pretty addictive. It's a lot of fun. It really throws you back in your seat, and it really shows you just how awesome the all-wheel drive system is in the STI. Like I said, this is something that you don't want to do often. I mean, sure, if you want to, go ahead, but it is definitely going to add some premature wear on your clutch. I personally prefer doing it in the wet just because it's a little bit easier on the transmission and the diff and everything like that. It won't launch as hard because it won't grip to the road as well. Today is a pretty dry day. All the roads are dry. It's about 52 degrees in November. So we're gonna get a pretty hard launch out of this one. But first, I need to find a road where there's nobody around and it's safe to do this. So we're looking at the side of the car, the window, we're looking down. There is a little off button here. So all you wanna do, if you press that once, if you look up on the dash, it actually just puts it in the track mode. Now, don't mind the TPMS. I don't have TPMS in these wheels, so that's on all the time. But if you notice, it has track mode and it says traction control off. Now, traction control is not completely disabled. Track mode allows you to, let the car loose a little bit. It turns off traction control just a little bit, but it doesn't turn it off completely. When you're doing your launch control, you want to make sure it is off entirely. So we're going to go back down to the button. We're actually going to hold it, and then you're going to see the track light turn off. So now traction control is completely disabled. Nothing is going to hold you back from actually launching. Now we're over at the Accessport, so we're going to go over into the menu. We're going to go down to tune, and we're going to do adjustments in the ECU settings. So we're going to go down there, and then you're going to see launch control. We're going to click on launch control. The default is just 8,000. Obviously you do not want to launch at 8,000. This car redlines at about 6,700 RPMs. So if you have it set at that, and you mash the gas pedal down, you're gonna have a bad time. So what we're gonna do, like I said, I'm going to bring it down to 50 to 100. That's where I found it's the happiest. We're just gonna hit save, and we're done. Now the car is completely ready for launch control. Before I actually launch the car, I'm gonna show you just exactly what it does, you know, because I'm gonna have the camera outside the car when I'm actually launching so you guys can see it. But this is what happens in the car. So what we're going to do, put the clutch in, we're going to put it in first gear, and then all we're going to do is mash down the gas pedal. And that is what happens. See, it's holding at the RPM that you set it at. So basically all you would do after that is let go of the clutch and hold on. And just for you guys to see, zero knock. Thank you, Bren Tuning. Just did that hard launch and everything is perfectly fine. So as soon as you're done having your fun, you want to make sure you turn traction control back on. So all you do is go back here, press the button, and traction control is back on. So there you go, guys. That is how you launch your STI. You know, everybody's gonna have a little bit different preference in terms of what they like to keep the RPM at. But as you can see, it launched really hard. Probably the hardest I've felt this car launch. The few times that I've done it in the past with this one, it's been in the wet or rain. So, you know, it slipped a little bit, so it didn't feel as aggressive. But that really throws you back into your seat. It really gets up and goes. You guys probably heard like a metal like dangling around. That was just a piece of something in the road. It wasn't the car. I went back and checked to make sure. So I can see it in the comments now saying that something broke off, but it wasn't. It was something that was in the road. I did walk up and down the little area over there to make sure there was nothing in the road that was going to harm the tires or the car or anything like that. So that must have just been like a little bolt or I don't know, something. But either way, it wasn't part of the car. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. One thing I want to say is I want to make sure that, you know, do this at your own risk. This is obviously dangerous. You know, this is something that a lot of people, you know, they have fun doing. But if you do it in a safe way where there's, you know, nobody around, there's no cars. As you can see in my video, it was literally in a deserted parking lot. There was nothing around, no people, no cars, no buildings, nothing. So you want to make sure you're doing it safely. I don't want to get comments later on that saying, hey, I watched your video and you told me to do launch control and I ran straight into a brick wall or something like that. I just want to make sure people are doing this safely. It is fun. It is addictive, but make sure you don't do it too often because, like I said, it will prematurely wear your clutch and your transmission and everything. But yeah, guys, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it, obviously, because it was fun. But yeah, STIs, you know, they're old technology. People think they are slow, but I assure you, if you were in this car with me, you would be smiling ear to ear because it is an absolute riot to launch this car. It launches hard. And this is just stage 1 plus, so I can only imagine what it feels like with, you know, a lot more horsepower and everything like that. But either way, I'm proud to own this car. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next video. In the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you in the next one.